We're going to go out of edit mode, just hit Control N. Again, we'll just grab a plane 3D, go into edit mode, make polymesh 3D, turn off our floor, geometry, smooth modifier off, divide this up. Grab that texture. You can do a color fill. Now, here you're going to see, because this texture that we grab the document has a different aspect ratio of this plane, what we'd have to do is, let's go ahead and hit Y to go back into gizmo mode here. You'd have to fatten this back out. Now, there is an alternative. You can go down here to texture. You can load up your texture with the different aspect ratio. Now, if you go to poly paint and you hold down shift and say poly paint from texture, that'll automatically resize your plane to match the dimensions of your image. That'll be really useful. For example, if we go to texture import, and let's say you already have a concept you want to work from, go ahead and grab this pistol.jpg, go ahead and select that here, and you're going to see the width is 1200 by 758, so we can select that texture in this area, and then hold down shift and do poly paint from texture, and that'll fix that aspect ratio. So now you can go in here, and if you wanted to, you can paint over this. Let's go ahead and turn that texture off. Paint over it in ZBrush. Or if you're just modeling and you want it kind of sitting in your ZBrush scene, you can go out of edit mode, and that'll just drop it to your document canvas. And now you can just drag out a cylinder over here, and you can just start modeling and start creating this with your reference kind of sitting there. Now, as far as reference goes, we're going to talk more about that with see-through and spotlight and stuff like that. But since we were talking about it, I'll just go ahead and mention that as well. So let's go ahead and hit Control N to clear our canvas. Let's go out of edit mode, hit Control N again. We'll go back to our polyplane here we were playing with. Now, instead of going down here to texture, grabbing this image, holding down shift and changing that texture to a poly paint to get the right aspect ratio, and then starting to clean this up, you can load that texture up in here, switch to a drag rect, make your focus shift -100, and now we have mirror turned on, but if you want to turn that off, you can. But now you can just drag your image out and start drawing over those as well. And again, if you want to just knock this down and start sketching on top, take your RGB intensity, let's go color, fill object, and that'll lighten it up. And then you can just go back in here and start drawing on top of your robot and maybe putting in some details and stuff of what you'd like to see. Now, let's go out of edit mode, hit Control N. Let's go grab that robot block out, drag it on our canvas here. And you'll remember if we change, let's turn the texture off, if we had our flat color here, you're going to see he turns into just a silhouette. In fact, if you want to just do silhouette work, I'm going to choose a very dark color. I think if you go straight black, it just negates itself. So I'm going to choose a very, very dark gray. And then for our document here, we're going to change this background. We're just going to color pick this white. So now we're just working in pure silhouette mode. So now you can go through here and you can use your move brush and you can do silhouette changes and just worry about your design based on the silhouette. Then to get everything back, you can go back in here, matte cap gray, go back to your document, change that background color, do something a little more palatable, and then change your color to white. So those are your silhouette changes that you made. Now, if you want to do silhouette studies that you draw on, one thing you can do is we're going to go back to flat color. We're going to keep it a white material. We're going to change our document here. And you know what? Instead of using the robot, let's go ahead and switch over to our stylized guy right here. Just to change it up a little bit, we'll go back here to document, background, and we'll choose black. So we've got our silhouette here. Let's go out of edit mode. We'll use the mRGB Z grabber instead of document grab doc this time. Go ahead and turn that alpha off. And to give us a few more options, I'm going to take this texture and I'm going to make an alpha with it and then turn the texture off. So now I can go hit Control N to clear my canvas. We'll make our document background a little bit lighter than it was. Grab a plane, go into edit mode, make polymesh 3D, geometry, turn off smooth modifier, divide it up. BTS for our transpose smart mask, hit Y, load up our alpha, hold down Control, and now we can just drag out copies of this guy. And then Control Shift. Now, even while you're in masking, if you want to, you can go into mask pin and you can just start masking changes. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can Control Tab to invert that. We'll choose a dark gray, go to color, fill object, go back to white, Control drag, and now you've got silhouettes in here that you can go through and start changing the silhouettes on. Tap C to choose a color here and make all the changes that you want. Of course, you don't have to do that with the silhouette. If we grab our guy again, Go back to matte cap gray, or you know what, we'll do skin shader 4 this time. We'll choose a white color. And you know what, let's get one that's a little bit more finished. And if you'll remember from the introductory videos, if you go up here to Preferences, Edit, there's an inactive subtool dimming, so you can see when I alt tap on this guy, he gets a lighter area. If you want to kind of minimize that effect, under Preferences, you can take that inactive subtool dimming and put up to 0.9, and that'll make it closer. However, if you don't want to mess with that, you can always go in here to your subtool, you can merge these down, or you can go over here to Merge Visible, and that'll throw out a copy with all these subtools merged. Now at this point, you can feel free to do a shadow pass or not. If that shadow is a little too intense, we'll talk a little bit about this. Under BPR Shadow, change that global strength down, so that way it'll kind of lessen the strength of that. So let's go ahead and reposition him. We'll go ahead and have perspective turned on, if you want it turned on. Hit BPR, texture grab dock, and just like before, we can apply this to a polyplane and start drawing on it. But instead of doing that, we're going to talk about spotlight.